Okay, so this is what we've been working on. Built me my own shop, 768 square foot, so it's not very big, just barely tall enough. And I'm going to go through the whole thing and talk about all the setbacks that I've had and the work that I've done and what I've hired out and what I haven't hired out. Okay, let's go inside the door and take a look. And here we are. It is filthy in here because like I said, we just got done doing a lot of work. I do have my own lift, and this is my son's car that we tested the lift out with it. The walls are insulated, the ceiling's insulated. These are temporary lights that I have right now. The lights that I have that I'm waiting to come in will run down the top. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of each row will have 4-foot LED lights, so there should be plenty of lights here. All of the electrical you see in here, I did. Now let's talk about the building before we go into the electrical. I did have a national shed building company. I will not name them because I will never, ever recommend these people to build your garage. The communication, crap. Their quality of building, crap. Their time schedule, also crap. It's a wonder that this building actually got built because of how they built it and in the time and manner that they built it. It's just terrible. When they got done with it, there were no garage doors, there was no paneling, there was just framing timbers, sheeting, and a ceiling. Or not even a ceiling, it was just a roof with trusses. Everything else in this garage I did. Some of my neighbors helped me with, friends and neighbors helped me with the drywall, ceiling, and the walls. I've done everything else in here. I did hire out Northwest Door. We are in the Pacific Northwest, for those of you who are watching this outside my area. They did these doors, and working with them was a dream after dealing with the National Shed Company who built the garage. Working with Northwest Door was just awesome. I can't say enough good words for them. Hire them, they do good work, they stand by their word. It was just good. Both of these garage doors, so we got one there, and then we have another one. I had this garage built with 2 garage doors just so that I can have access to my backyard, and in the event that I need to store a vehicle in my backyard, I will have access. Okay, so electrical, I wanted to make sure that I didn't have that I would never ever run out of plugs. So the national code says we got to have outlets within 6 feet of each other, and I honestly don't understand why you have to have them within 6 feet of each other and nothing about the extra wall. But anyway, they're roughly about 5.5 feet apart. And I also added 240 volt outlets. I got 2 of those in here. There's one here, and there's one kitty corner. Where is it? Right there. All of the conduit I bent myself. Now, I did not know electrical. I thought I did until I started reading the code book and studying it. So once I found out that I didn't know what I thought I knew, I spent 4 weeks of straight studying. Every time I'd get done working, I'd hop on my computer and I would develop a question in my head, and then I would research the answer for it until I knew exactly what it was. The internet saved my butt on this one. So things like, so this is EMT conduit. you have to have a strap within 3 feet of a termination, either a box or the end of the route. So, you know, I got a strap here, there's a strap there, there's a strap there, and it's like that throughout the whole thing. Things like, you can see that that junction box is a lot bigger than that one. That's because the space inside the junction box, you can only use so much of that space with your wires and connections. And there's a formula, and so looking up the formula and doing the math, I needed a box that had 105 cubic inches of space, or square inches. I think it's cubic inches of space, and this box has 110. So that's why that box is there, and that box is a little one. You notice that we have an outlet box at the top. That's going to have, or this garage door is going to have a wall-mounted garage door opener. So I made sure that there was a box there. This box, as well as that box there, required me to have, not a requirement. Those go to the wall sconces that I haven't picked out yet for the outside of the garage. All right, so let's pause for a moment and we'll go into the other garage. Okay, so why are we in my old garage? And the deal is, in order to put power into the new garage, I needed to run power from the panel. But this panel was all filled up. Not only that, it's old, no longer use in. They would never use this panel on a new construction, and let me explain why. You see here, this is the main, and on this panel, the main shuts off only half the panel. So all your 240 stuff, dryer, heater, water heater, your in our case the I can't think of something else that's 240, but anyway, all your 240s stayed live regardless of what your main did. So like I said, it was filled up, so I needed to replace the panel, and here's the panel that I replaced. And yes, I did the work. I am not a licensed electrician, but in our area, the homeowner is allowed to do their own work. And you see these here, these big 3 wires, they come out of a 100 amp breaker, and they go into that conduit there, and that's going to feed my garage. And we'll talk about that in a minute. When doing the panel, I found out that the existing wires were not long enough because the old panel was a lot smaller than the new panel. So I had to include a humongous junction box, make junctions up there, connections, and lengthen wire and bring them all down here. I did have an electrician kind of coach me and school me a little bit when I didn't know what I was doing or needed to ask questions. And he also helped me with a fireman disconnect. So that's what we're going to look at next. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. This is what it's a service or main disconnect, also known as a fireman switch. So what happens if there's a problem in your house and the firemen need to show up and maybe put out a fire, and the power's still on in the house and they're spraying it down with water hose? So it's so easy for them now, for my house, to come over here and flip this switch, power's off. It lessens their sense of danger, and also turns off like sensitive equipment that we don't want to get wet when they're putting out a fire. This is kind of new for 2020. The National Electrical Code does state that this is a requirement. The only thing it doesn't state, though, is it a requirement on retrofit, updating, or just new construction. And I couldn't get that answered, so I went ahead and included it. And my electrician helped me. He actually came out and actually helped me to run the wires from the meter to the top of the switch, and then from the bottom of the switch back out and goes into my panel over here. Now we'll talk about how we get power out to the garage. So there's the other end of that conduit we saw inside there. I've got it in 2-inch conduit. This is open because I still need to do my final inspection, so I can't put any covers on it. But then we run through the side of the house, cut through this little gate here, and over to an outdoor junction box. And so we got the power going through here. You'll notice that there is a red wire. Red wire is the other leg of your 240. Your 240 is made up of 120 on your black and another 120 which is on your red. And so you can't see the black, but it's over here. And so we got our red wire, our neutral, and then a ground conductor. And then this is where I had to do a lot of dirt, or a lot of digging. So this trench is 2 feet deep, and I did have to break up and cut out my patio. And from about here all the way over to the garage, I did that with a rented trencher. And renting a trencher is not that big of a deal unless you got these things. Dinosaur eggs, and a lot of them. And some of them are big. And the trencher didn't like that, but, you know, particularly that one there. It took almost 2 or 3 minutes of just straight digging for them to, for that one to get out. And then from around the corner here, from the concrete all the way over to that end of there, this was all dug out by hand. Obviously I didn't cut the concrete before I rented the trencher. So after the trencher was done, I rented a concrete cutter. We cut up these giant blocks, got them out of the way, and once the concrete was out of the way, then I literally dug it by hand. I had gloves on. I would use a pickaxe, get the dirt all loosened up, break the roots, and then just scoop the dirt out by hand. So 10 feet, 2 feet deep, a little bit beyond 10 feet. And there we go. So now we'll go back this way, and we've come almost full circle. And we got a spider that landed on my head here. So we're going to come back and go inside the garage and take a look at the electrical panel in there. All right. Okay. So now we're back to our, and the noise that you're hearing, it's 100 degrees outside right now. So I've got a window AC unit there. I got the bottom of the door taped up, and then I got a portable unit here. Just enough to keep this barely comfortable out for these days. So power comes in here, goes up and around. So there's our other leg of 120, and then that's our neutral. And when you're doing a sub panel, your neutrals and your grounds are separated. So I had to add a ground bus bar. So all the green wires go into there, and all of my neutrals go into here. Now let's talk about these panels, because these are kind of interesting. So more and more of the code is requiring ground fault and arc fault protection on your circuits, particularly inside of a garage. So instead of running a GFI outlet, I found out that you can get a combination of ground fault and arc fault protection breakers. So instead of the neutral wire going to the neutral bus bar, it will go to the breaker. So the breaker senses ground fault and arc. That's only available on the 20 amp and 15 amp breakers, and all the 120 in my garage here is on 20 amp circuits. So this one here goes to the lift, and that one there, which both of those are 2 poles, that one goes to my 240 outlets. Now, explain to the 240 here, if you look closely, that's a 50 amp breaker. And I could have saved a little bit of money going to a 30 amp and wiring it with smaller wires, but I want the capability of future proofing without having to mess with all of this stuff. So I added a 50 amp circuit for there and the one down there, the 240 down there. That one's really, I really wanted that one to be 50 amp capable. In the event that I wanted to add an electric car charger, I can do a level 2 and all the wiring is all in there. So I won't have to worry about upgrading, just buy the charger and wire it in. And that brings me to another subject, is why is all my electrical on the outside? This is a garage, this is going to be my business. I'm not sure if this is really going to work for me. I may want to make changes. If all the wiring is inside the wall, it'll be a lot harder to make changes. So now everything is accessible, and I can change it as well. And the way I have my outlet set up, that's on one breaker, that's on another breaker. And if you look closely, this is on circuit B, or breaker B. That's going to be on breaker A. And so every other one, so that one was A, this one's B, this one is A again. So I can run two big devices next to each other and not have to worry about it. So there we go, which is, and the orient, or the flip-flop is reverse on the other wall. So where this one starts on breaker A, that first one is on breaker B. So that works out as well. And I'm telling you, these two AC units in here are just barely keeping it up. It's about 75 degrees in here, maybe 80-ish, even though it's 100 degrees outside. So let's go all the way back here and talk about this guy. Benpack 2-post lift. It is a 10,000 pound capacity lift, and it's asymmetrical, which means the poles or the posts aren't identical. One post is actually facing this way, the other post is facing this way. And the important part, and the reason why I bought and paid the extra for that, is even though the car will be on the lift, if I need to, I can still open the door and get access into the car. I did all the wiring for that as well. All of that comes out of that box there, so it has its own set of wires that are just going through. There are no connections. It's one complete run all the way to that breaker right there, non-stop. And then the other thing I added to make sure we were kosher with everything is a kill switch. So right now the lift will not be used. See if I can do it all in one shot here. Nothing there. We flip the breaker or the big switch and it works. So yeah, what is 10,000 pounds? To put that in perspective, your average F-150 four-door pickup truck weighs 6,800 pounds. So I can definitely do F-150s, F-250s, possibly an F-350 if they're not loaded up, and I'll be able to fit them in here. However, with that being said, and one little drawback to my garage, and this was done because of price, I only have a 7-foot opening right here. Maybe in a few years, I may have somebody just raise that up and get maybe an 8-foot or a 10-foot opening. But right now, it was the cheapest. It was cheapest to go with it because it's a standardized opening. The door wasn't very expensive to do the 7-foot opening, so it's 16 by 7. All right, so that concludes. I'm going to turn this around now. That concludes our tour of this whole thing that I built. My, for lack of better words, it's a man cave in every sense of the word. But like I said, I started this in October of 2019. That's when I made my first down payment. Get my hand out of the way. The National Shed Building Company didn't start actually building until December 14th. No, I think it was December 21st of 2020. So I put my money down in 2019, waited a whole year. Now, part of that reason was COVID, and I understand that. And also part of that was because of permits. Now, permits for this property was not a problem. The city of Tacoma that I live in, they were a dream to work with. They were the least of all the stress things with building this project. So, yeah, don't use the National Shed Building Company. Don't use them. And if you read between the lines, you know who I'm talking about. And if you are watching this, shame on you on how I was treated when building this project. Shame. Just ridiculous. Let me just say one little thing here. The building site inspector threatened the two guys that were building this garage, forcing them to do it over again. That's how bad it was. They just skirted by with doing the minimum acceptable. It wasn't even part of the blueprints, but the inspector realized that this is just a garage after all. Nobody's living in here, but that tells you. So they did, however, did not do the concrete. So I'm going to flip this over. We're going to talk about the concrete too. Okay, so why do I have a 3-foot 8-inch wall underneath my wall? Well, the National Shed Building Company, their standard wall height is 8 foot. My lift has to be under 12-foot ceiling height. So we added a 1-foot or 3-foot wall, and from that corner to about right there, the Shed Building Company added a 1-foot extension to their 8-foot wall. So we have 9 foot plus our 3 foot gives me my 12-foot ceiling height. We also had to come up with a interesting, well, I wouldn't say interesting. It's not a peaked roof. It's kind of a low pitch roof because there's only 3 feet from the ceiling to the center part of the peak of the roof, because the city of Tacoma does limit detached garages to a 15-foot maximum ceiling height or roof height. And I'm a few inches over that. I think I'm like 15 foot 3 inches. And the city of Tacoma said, we'll let it go. So props to the city of Tacoma. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm still waiting on getting my final inspection, but I got a couple more things to, or not final inspection, final for the electrical, get the final electrical inspection done. I'm still doing a couple other things I got to finish up real quick. But the lift works. I'm going to be able to kick out a lot of jobs in here now. I'll be able to work faster, efficiently. Not only that, I'm protected from the elements. I've been working in my driveway for 8 years now, and now I'm going to be protected. I don't even know what that means to not have rain drip down the back of my neck, down my back, icy cold rain, or in the snow. I've had to work in the snow. So I just can't wait for all this to get used. I actually have my first job lined up here this Thursday. Today is Monday. And going to be doing a timing belt right here. And we'll get her done. So there's the whole thing with the video, and you know, I can't say enough about how happy I am here, but definitely if you're building a garage, don't use a national shed building company. Yeah, that's not cool. I would show you the blueprints, but their name is plastered all over them. There's the blueprints on the floor. So I can't show you the blueprints, otherwise I'd go over that and go into detail what's going on there. So anyway, that's it for now, and thank you for watching. I'm going to flip this. So thank you for watching. I can't, for all the friends who have helped me with this, all my neighbors who have helped me, and bless my wife and my son. The amount of stress that I have gone through in doing this project, because I did so much of it on my own, I can't tell you how good to have the family to back you up when you're doing something like this. My family's amazing. I love my family. My wife, bless her heart, she put up with all of this, and the mess, you know, the mess, the mud that got tracked inside the house, and then, you know, when doing the electrical, we were without power for an entire weekend while I replaced that panel. So it tells you that right there, you know, who else is going to put up with power outage. Anyway, I'm going to go now. I think 28 minutes is long enough for this video. So I hope to start making videos again, but we'll see. I have to get used to working inside here. Obviously I got to do something about the sound, because these walls are bare, so it's echoing like crazy. And anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you around. Bye.